Good news, everyone. We found Paolo. We found him. I was about to play a game of Marco, Paolo, but do you want to play it anyway? Marco? Paolo. Yeah, you get it. Marco? Okay, I'll wake you up a bit later this afternoon. Okay, I'm going to be really quick here because we found Paolo. His time is running out. So please put your hands together. Welcome to the stage, Paolo Ardoino, the CEO of Tether and the CTO of Bitfinex. Come on down, Paolo.
Hello, Prague. Hello, everyone. So today we are going to have a talk about the apocalypse, right? It's not going to be a tinfoil hat kind of thing, but it's a concept that I really love to talk about, right? So if you're a company like Tether and you go to your marketing guys and you start telling them, oh, look, I really want to start using the concept of the apocalypse as a driving concept for our company, they will do their best to dissuade you to avoid that you start instilling this concept of doom and gloom into people's minds. But I think it's actually an extremely powerful concept to speak about, right? So we are going to see how the world is getting out of control the people, right? And how from the individual to the community, to the city, to the country, the concept of regaining sovereignty is going to be fundamental in the future. So the world we live in is fundamentally broken from multiple aspects. We're going to see money, internet, and artificial intelligence. The money is broken. I think everyone here today for this conference, for BTC Prague, has the same feeling. We started collecting a few of these headlines. You have, there's all the newspapers about, the geopolitical uncertainty. You can see how money is basically an instrument, a tool for controlling people, countries, and entire economies all around the world. Your money that you have in your bank account is not yours and is not going to be likely also owned by the bank. Money is basically warfare today. Monetary uncertainty, again, same thing. The way money is managed by countries and by central banks is all about tightening control over people. Again, we keep talking about that. We are very familiar with it. Censorship, again, we are going to live in a world where if you say something that the establishment doesn't agree with, your ability to transact will be censored. It's happening already in few countries, and the extent of that will keep increasing. I was reading that even in Europe, you can now go to jail if you express something that upsets the feelings of someone else. And unfortunately, being Europe, the cradle of democracy, feels like a little bit weird and saddening. Also, something that I like to talk about is the Bitcoin mining censorship. We should really push back on any sort of censorship as much as possible, even when includes Bitcoin. One thing that I really don't like and Tether is focusing on is making sure that although it's much, much easier to start a mining farm in the US and then Texas has really cheap electricity and so on, the importance of finding alternative places that will increase the diversity of Bitcoin mining is fundamental. Paraguay, Uruguay, El Salvador, Argentina, Brazil are countries that we are very active in and we are working with, but also is about educating central banks and governments about the importance of participating to Bitcoin mining and not be left out from the most important monetary revolution that the world have ever seen. So the next step is, the next issue is the internet. I'm a developer, I'm a software developer. I started coding when I was 8 and I was super excited about one thing called internet. And the internet that excited me is not there anymore. Internet was created as a peer-to-peer communication protocol. Every single device that you have in your pockets has, when you connect it to internet, it gets assigned something called an IP address. It means like your home address. So it means that as for your home address, someone having your address is supposed to be able to send a postcard from everywhere in the world to your home, right? And have a clear identification, a pointer to your house. The IP address is the very same thing, and it is supposed to allow people to connect to each other without any sort of centralized infrastructure. But the way actually internet changed in the last years and the decades is an enormous centralization. The incentives has been pushing this enormous centralization. Now more than 70% of internet is centralized across 3 companies, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. They are, through their data centers, they are serving 70% of internet. So that gets really scary, because then the incentives about this that are driving this centralization are data harvesting. Now, if you, every single day that you use a social media app, you are producing data that is crucial to the survival of these companies, because the only way these companies will survive is through new, fresh data every single day produced by billions of people. So how we can get away from that, we are going to see it a little bit. There are many people in our community are working on different solutions. But this is why internet is broken, is really defeating the promise of internet in creating this super resilient communication tool that is a gift to humanity, is a gift to knowledge. That is not there anymore. Of course, the centralization of internet also brings or increase the likelihood of data breaches, because the better you are at hacking stuff, and the more data is centralized, the more information you can gather with one single hack, right? So that is very, very concerning as well. Data surveillance is also huge. The more data is concentrated in these 3 company data centers, the more it's easy for everyone and governments to get access to the data, or not just governments, also private companies that are using your data, your everyday data, to milk information out of you and use that to become extremely rich and build the next data center. And censorship of information, and an issue that we do really care about is how the information gets, only certain type of information gets out there. We talked in the past about algorithms and how algorithms are actually designed to hide information that certain groups are not willing to see us seeing that type of information. The third issue is AI. Is that AI is broken, and it's really weird, right? You started to understand where the incentives lie, because 2 years ago, almost no one was talking about ChatGPT, OpenAI, and artificial intelligence in general. So it's just within 2 years of popularity, or mass popularity of artificial intelligence. Of course, artificial intelligence goes back to the 70s, but for the mass interest in artificial intelligence started recently. And so the reality is that although started really recently, like 2-3 years ago, AI is already broken. We are seeing how today, people never use Facebook to upload their medical bills or their medical exams, yet they are using ChatGPT and uploading their medical exams to get a second opinion. So the amount of information that the average person is ready to share with AI products is insane. We can get scary really quickly. So AI also suffer from another problem, that is GPU centralization and bias. So the problem with GPU centralization is that in order to train the large language models, that are the things that are, the constructs, the systems that are powering artificial intelligence, the data structures, you need a lot of GPUs. You see NVIDIA, that is the main company that is developing these GPUs, has become the most valuable company in the world, right? So in order to train these huge models to be extremely accurate and have access to all the information in the world, to be perfect and help in ourselves in our day-to-day lives, you need hundreds or thousands and thousands and thousands of GPUs. But GPUs are very, very scarce. First of all, there is one prominent company that is developing them, NVIDIA, and they are fulfilling the orders of Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. So again, as for cloud, we are going back to the same owners of AI infrastructure. And also, we have seen how bias is already rampant, right? AI is already being used to drive political agendas that are basically decided by the heads of these three companies. So it creates, since AI will be so life-changing for our society, it's extremely problematic that three companies will have in their hands the biggest power that probably humanity have seen in the last 200 years. So, of course, the dog in the fire is quite maiming the situation that, in my opinion, we are living in. So, how we try to mitigate, or how we think about the problems that I just described at Tether. So, must say that Tether has been very, very lucky. I think that in life, 80% is luck and 20% is actually you working hard to get achievements. So we grew from 0 to $112 billion in 10 years. I wish I could say that, again, was because we were super intelligent and wonderful and predicted everything, how our stable coin would grow, but actually it's not like that. Our main product, USDT, was there at the right moment, at the right time, in the right place, to help people that were not ready and still are not ready to embrace Bitcoin because they are not technical, they are just not ready, and they know something in their life that is called the US dollar, and they are very familiar with that because that's their reserve currency that they try to get to as much as they can. Imagine if you live in Argentina, in Lebanon, in Bolivia, in Brazil, in Turkey, in Vietnam. All these people, although there are many Bitcoiners around there, they are suffering this moment from a big issue that is their national currencies are going down the bin. They are devaluating many percentages point by the day, and they are really well aware that there is a better fiat currency out there. They know that the US dollar is much more solid than their national currency, so they're basically just trying to buy US dollars. It's getting harder and harder because the banking system is very fragile around the world and also is very scattered. And we found out that there are 3 billion people in the world that are unbanked, and 5 billion people in the world that are living in high inflation countries. And these people need a solution that is very, very easy, and is a solution also that they are very, very familiar with. And again, that was the US dollar. So in 2014, Tether brought together two innovations, the blockchain, well, not two innovations, but the innovation of blockchain, and put it together with the most used currency in the world, that was the US dollar. That's how USDT came to be. And especially after 2020 with the pandemic and all the pandemic and the fact that the pandemic had on the global inflation and on all the emerging markets, developing countries, the success of USDT grew a lot. Tether didn't have a marketing team until 2022. So the biggest part of the growth of USDT was actually because people just needed a product. They wanted a dollar. They looked around. They were sick and tired to be fucked by their governments and central banks. And they were sick and tired to see all their wealth disappearing every decade. So 350 million today, over 350 million people today turn to USDT as a way, not only as a medium of exchange, but also as a saving solution. And with Tether, we are going to see it in a bit, we are trying to push as hard as possible, and we're pushing much more Bitcoin education rather than teaching them about the dollar. But the reality of things is that not everyone is ready. Another reason why we got lucky, in the first quarter of 2024, we have been making quite a significant amount of money that we decided to not, also last year we made around $6 billion in profits, and this year, just in the first quarter, around $4 billion. And we took a serious decision, right? After everything that we discussed about how internet, money, and AI is broken, we thought, okay, let's not distribute the majority of the money and the profits that we made. What we can do that is extremely significant in order to try to do our small part to push back on the centralization part, not only about the money, but about internet and artificial intelligence. I believe that today Tether is much more than stablecoin, and Tether is started to be known more and more about its long-term vision on the growth of technology and decentralization of technology just outside of Bitcoin, but how we can bring and how the philosophy and the ethos that powered Bitcoin and made us successful in a way can be applied to telecommunications, can be applied to artificial intelligence, can be applied to education. So how we can use everything that we learned in the last 15 years and apply to everything else that anyway is very, very crucial. If you only have freedom, if you only have financial freedom through Bitcoin and you cannot communicate with your friends freely, that means you are not really free. Let's start from Bitcoin. I wanted to collect some stats about what we did with and how we are trying to support Bitcoin on our side. So we are investing up to 15% of our profits into Bitcoin. Give or take today means that we have an exposure to Bitcoin of around 90,000 Bitcoin. The guy that was here before me is a bit higher, but maybe we are going to catch up in the future. We mine Bitcoin across the world. We're going to see it in a little bit. We support Bitcoin education and development and products like, for example, RGB. And also we invest in companies like Blockstream and others, just because we believe that it is important to give back to the Bitcoin ecosystem. We invest in freedom tech. Again, we consider a Bitcoin freedom tech. So we invested and published hundreds of open source repositories all about cryptography and peer-to-peer telecommunications. Kit, we are going to see it in a little bit, is our peer-to-peer chat app, truly unstoppable. We are working and focusing on peer-to-peer AI models. We believe that local privacy-oriented AI models is going to be part of the future and is part of still our community philosophy. And we invest in tens of startups working on peer-to-peer and Bitcoin and Lightning Network. So we created basically 4 categories outside the financial side of Tether. Let's say we have Tether Finance, that is the stablecoin, and we have these 4 categories: power, data, education, evolution. So for each one, we identify these categories as the way to start pushing, the same philosophy, the same concepts, and the same freedom ethos that we learn directly from Bitcoin. Let's start from power. So with Tether Power, we focus on finding spots on the Earth that are not, the classic places where everyone mines, that have access to green energy and have access to surplus of green energy. For example, let's think about Paraguay and Uruguay and El Salvador, right? El Salvador is famous for the volcano bond. Hopefully, we're going to see it in a short term and short future. It's about, for the people that don't know about it, it's about using and harnessing the power of the volcanoes, the geothermal power, to produce geothermal energy and use that to mine Bitcoin. And then we deployed, as of today, more than $600 million into Bitcoin mining. We have two huge facilities in Uruguay as well, and other two in Paraguay. And we are looking to other places, for example, Middle East and Asia, to understand where we could start operating. But it's also about, as I said before, is about explaining to governments why it's very, very important to be exposed to Bitcoin mining. I made yesterday the example that probably if you have $1 million or $100,000 or $10,000, most of the time is more profitable to just buy Bitcoin. But if you are a company that is so invested in Bitcoin and has so many Bitcoins on the balance sheet, you really want to make sure that you are doing your part to protect or to create opposing forces to centralization as much as possible. So good $600 million instead that we invested, we could have put it directly into buy Bitcoin. We prefer to use that capital to create these opposing forces to find other places and to create this global movement of decentralization for Bitcoin mining. This is just one of our sites. We also, because we really want to understand well how technology works and when it comes to Bitcoin mining and how we can maximize the result and the output of Bitcoin mining through new technologies, including artificial intelligence, we developed our open source mining software that is actually built as an IoT system for mining. So we built connectivity and really granular data controls for all the different miners that we have used so far out there, Bitmain, MicroBT, Avalon, and all that, and also for the containers, right? So we consider the mining sites as just a huge IoT systems with hundreds of thousands of sensors and data points that we can collect every single second. And we created this huge peer-to-peer IoT infrastructure system that can collect this information all across all our mining sites, analyze it, and trying to find patterns to allow us to optimize the mining output. We want to open source this product in the next months because we believe that it's going to be helpful for everyone. Even if you want to start mining at home, you might want to have a nice dashboard and have real-time statistics on your production. The other pillar is Tether data. Is about unstoppable peer-to-peer infrastructure and AI infrastructure. We obtained the domain pairs.com. Some of you might have seen me using the concept of peer-to-peer. That would be, that is peer-to-peer. Being Italian, I always confuse the pronunciation, and so peer-to-peer and peer-to-peer for me was the same. So we decided to start using the emojis of the pairs to express the peers. So we started from a very, very difficult task that is revolutionizing communication. So we created Keynote. That is a fully peer-to-peer chat application that is based on the Hole Punch protocol that I co-founded myself with Matthias Buss, that is the CEO of Hole Punch. And the concept of Keynote and Hole Punch is demonstrating that we don't need centralized data centers to operate mass consumer applications. We don't need cloud services to handhold us and handhold all our information, because actually what we are seeing is that all that information we put on cloud services is going to be used and milked by the big tech companies. So with Kit, we wanted to demonstrate how it's possible to build something that doesn't need any the best communication app. Of course, is still in beta and needs to be improved, but we wanted to demonstrate you can have the same user experience, actually much better user experience, using existing protocols on the internet and peer-to-peer protocols like BitTorrent protocols, BitTorrent-style protocols, to exchange data. Exchange data could be chats, videos, photos, real-time communication like video calls or audio calls with your friends in a completely private form without having any single point of failure and any single data center that gets your data in passing through. If you think about it today, you are in this situation, right? You use WhatsApp, and every time you send a message, imagine that you are in Rome, right? Every time you send a message on WhatsApp, that message, and let's say that you send a message to your mom that is still living in Rome. That message will travel thousands and thousands of miles up to Frankfurt, because it's the nearby data center of WhatsApp, and will travel back to 1 kilometer away to your mother's phone. That really doesn't make any sense. The humanity is trying to go to Mars, and we are still thinking that we need this huge centralized infrastructure to allow us to communicate with each other, with our friends and family. That is a huge lie. So I would really recommend you guys to play with Kit. It's using bit39 for creating identities. So it's you can send terabytes of files through Kit, because again, there is no central server that is gonna be affected by that. You just need an internet connection, it will just work. We are going to have soon also an uncustodial Bitcoin wallet. We have invested in the other parties for Tether data. We invested in AI infrastructure. We invested in NVIDIA that is becoming one. We invested in Northern Data that has access to and has already bought from NVIDIA more than 20,000 GPUs, H100s from NVIDIA. The reason why we did that, we invested more than $1 billion, is because we want to give to all the companies fair access to these GPUs without have to eventually have to withstand the tightening of the control of Google, Amazon, and Microsoft on what you can do with AI. That will come, that type of control will come, and it's important to have alternatives. We invested in education. I will skip really quickly here because I don't have much time left. You have seen that Giacomo Zucco started this project called Plan B Network. There is a cool stand that they have here. Please go and visit them. And the last thing that is really exciting is that our last pillar is Tether Evo, that is about investing in still, I think, human enhancement technology. That we recently invested $200 million in what you could call a Neuralink competitor, but actually is the company we invested in is called BlackRock Neurotech. Nothing to do with BlackRock, but they have actually a brain-computer interface, so a chip that you can put in your brain that has already 40 patients and allows to do thought-to-voice with 60 words per minute and 90 characters per minute. And they have already 40 patients compared to Neuralink that has only 1 patient. Of course, you know, Elon Musk has this huge power in advertising all his enterprises, but we think that it's going to be important to have an open source standard for brain-computer interfaces, because I think humanity will depend on that on the future, either for just improving ourselves and understanding science and medicine much better, having low latency access to computing in our brain, or just to fight the uprise of robots and AI. For anyone that wants to join us, here is the QR code. And thank you very much for your time today, and have a great conference. Thank you.